We are 10 years into the biggest hoax in human history. The threat of terrorism. It is an irrational fear. It is a psychological compulsion that's been engineered into people.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Global terrorism. Terrorism.
Terrorism. Terrorism. Evil terrorists.
Al-Qaeda is still a threat.
Many Al-Qaeda groups or Al-Qaeda inspired groups.
Homegrown threat.
Terrorist threat.
Attacking our homeland.
When you really pull back from a non-emotional perspective and look at this through a historical lens, you see what a hoax it is.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror.
It is absurd. It is ridiculous that the land of the free, home of the brave, is gripped in abject fear, groveling and begging for the government to take our rights, launch wars, engage in secret arrest. Trillions of dollars have been spent in the last decade on anti-terrorism. Our entire society is converting to a domestic police state, drones in the skies, TSA sticking their hands down your pants, putting you in ionizing radiation chambers, the naked body scanners. But the system knows that it's a fraud. The system itself is actually engaging in terrorism. The truth is, government and its corporate whore media is using this hyped up threat to actually terrorize the population into giving up our basic liberties. And let's not forget that the former head of Homeland Security, Tom Ridge, a few years ago, even wrote a book admitting that they would issue terror alerts for political gain. Let's read the UN's own definition of terror that is very similar to the FBI's. Criminal acts intended or calculated to provoke a state of terror in the general public. There it is, hidden in plain view. Governments are saying, give up your rights, give us unlimited power and taxation, get behind all these wars for empire, or terrorists are going to get you. That itself is the very definition of terrorism. Now, I'm going to go through some of these statistics. You've got a better chance of dying from a honeybee sting or falling down in your shower than you do of being killed by a terrorist. You have a much better chance of dying water skiing or swimming in your pool or slipping in your bathtub or a deer jumping out in front of you and having a car wreck and dying than you do from terrorists. The numbers are all there. Even Scientific American a few years ago did a big breakdown on this. Let's just look at the numbers. You've got a 1 in 540 chance each and every year of developing fatal cancer. If you look at the wars launched in the name of fighting terrorists, in the case of Iraq, the Iraqis had a 1 in 1,150 chance of dying. Let's look at traffic accidents. In the year 2008, you had a 1 in 8,000 chance of dying in a car wreck. Homicide in the United States, you had a 1 in 22,000 times chance of dying. Let's take terrorism in Northern Ireland during that entire conflict from 1970 to 2007. You had a 1 in 43,000 chance of being killed. If you take all terrorism in the United States from 1970 to 2007, you had a 1 in 3.5 million chance of being killed by a terrorist. And remember, many of those terrorist attacks were actually staged or provocateured to take your freedom. We're not just going to show you the fake threat of terror. We're going to show you the real threats to human society. And we're going to expose the #1 killer of human beings in the last 100 years. This information that you're about to see could save billions of lives. And in every case, these threats flow from the global technocratic elite and their scientific dictatorship.
Is that gas?
And it's not just that the elite are a threat to the general public. I've analyzed this thing from one end to the other. They're the greatest threat to themselves. But wasn't that the case with Hitler turning east into Russia, or Napoleon, or even Julius Caesar? It's the fact that they're so arrogant, so filled with bravado, and chutzpah that they think they're God. These control freaks are going to bring themselves down, and all the rest of us with them, if we don't wake up and stop them. Of all the real, proven threats to humanity, none of them have killed as many people as government itself. In academia, it's known as democide. But notice, you've probably never heard that, even if you went to college. And you've certainly never seen it on the news or on the Discovery Channel. Oh no, they're too busy telling you about sharks they're going to get you any minute with Shark Week and Bin Laden and we got to stick our hands down your pants. No, you never hear about democide. And it's proven, it's on record, that governments have killed over 260 million people. It's a giant number. So big that it's even hard to grasp. That is the #1 cause of unnatural death in the 20th and now 21st century. And if you look back at the eons before that, it was always #1. Look what George Washington and many others said. Government is like fire. It is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. You bet it is. 260+ million dead. Democide. When your government kills you. To put democide into perspective, it would take 10 sports stadiums, jam-packed with 100,000 people apiece, to represent 1 million souls. China, from 1949 to 1987, the Communist Party killed 76+ million people. And they even admit it. They're proud of it. The USSR, from 1917 to 1987, killed over 61 million people. Combined Western colonialism killed over 50 million people. Germany, under Hitler, from 1933 to 1945, killed more than 20 million people total, including their own population. Japan, during its imperial orgy, from 1936 to 1945, killed 5+ million people. Before Mao even got into power, from 1923 to 1948, they killed right around 3.5 million. And good old Pol Pot in Cambodia, funded by the U.S. government and Zbigniew Brzezinski, from 1975 to 1979, killed around 30% of his population, 2 million. Turkey, during their genocide of the Armenians, 1.8 million. Vietnam, 1.67 million. Poland, 1.585 million. Pakistan, 1.5+ million. Yugoslavia under Tito, 1,072,000. And the mega murder just continues. North Korea, 1.663 million. Mexico, 1,417,000. Russia, before the communists even got in, killed over 1 million. And it just goes on and on and on. For a whopping conservative total of 262 million. Governments winning the war against humanity. And let me just be clear. That's governments killing unarmed civilians. That doesn't even count military casualties. If you add those in, it's well over 350 million. So democide, or death by government, is the #1 threat because it's already been carried out many, many times. And governments all over the world are engaging in mass murder right now. And our own government, under the National Defense Authorization Act, is openly stating that they will kill U.S. citizens, secretly arrest U.S. citizens, and have us disappear into secret prisons and black holes. So the gauntlet has been thrown down in front of us. You've seen how governments have overtly killed their populations. By the sword, by the gun, by starvation. But what about covert forms of genocide? We're now going to look at that area. And then I'll get into the mad scientist activity of the global rulers who are trying to basically become God. Throughout history, there have been two major movements. Those that are promoting and pushing for human liberty and for empowering humanity, and those that seek to dominate and control it. Now, a pseudoscience developed around 1850 in the United Kingdom called eugenics. And the spin-off of that, of course, was the Nazis and their race purification program. But eugenics was funded by the British royal family and was basically just a regurgitation of what royalty had already believed for thousands of years, that they were divine.